Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to WildStar. This is, again, going to be post-commentary. It is really hard to run through these adventures like this and commentate at the same time. At least, I'm not super good at it yet.
We've reached a critical juncture.
This is actually a pretty sweet run, though, so I'm okay showing this off. So this is, I'm playing as an Esper again, but this time I'm over on the Dominion side, kind of the evil empire.
Dominion victory is the only option.
And so this whole thing, these adventures, kind of the lowest level of dungeon or instanced content, the whole kind of gimmick of these is that it's like a training simulation. So you're like training and kind of practicing honing your skills so that you can better serve whichever side you're on, Exile or Dominion. The Exile opening adventure is completely different from this one. The two are very different. So we'll show off that one at some point as well, since I don't think I've done that yet. Anyway, so the point of this one is that it's a prison riot, prison breakout that you're trying to stop. The Exiles are going after some very high security prisoners on this asteroid prison. It's hovering over the main planet. By hovering, I mean probably orbiting. I think that would be a better word to describe it. So you're going to notice lots of little like puzzle things, little challenges like this. So what we're doing here is we're sprinting from blue circle to blue circle. We have those holograms. That's why we're kind of glowing and we look very different. We're avoiding the snipers, the guards. We are disguised as Exile prisoners. And we are attempting to learn, you know, like what's going on, like what's some of the plan, what's the dealio. Let's see, I was fairly low level. I think I'm like 15, 16, 17, right around there somewhere. I don't remember exactly what my level is. Comparable to what I was in my other videos as an Esper on the Exile side. So we're waiting for our other member. Somebody was a bit slow getting through the snipers.
You took quick action.
That's okay, though.
Adequately done.
So our party composition, we just kind of randomly can queue up for these things with the group finder, similar to PvP. I went in as a DPS, a damage dealer.
Welcome to the void.
I'm the Esper. If we look over on the left, I'm Helba, the Esper at the top. We have Carlson Daney, who is our tank, and a Stalker. Stalkers are basically like if you take Wolverine from the X-Men and then gave him stealth abilities, the ability to turn invisible. That's essentially what's going on there. And Stalkers are kind of the squishiest tank. They can't take the most damage. They only wear medium armor instead of heavy armor like Engineers and Warriors, the other two tanking classes. We actually did surprisingly well in here, though. So that was a nice, pleasant surprise. Here we go. So you see the three options there. So this is kind of the common thing in the adventures is, hey, there are riots out here, and then there's another group that broke off into stealing guns, and then there's another group that went down to try to break out, like, our most maximum security prisoners who are in, like, cryo storage in the basement. Which one are you going to go after? And you kind of vote. So we ended up going after cold storage, which is the maximum security prisoners in cryo storage in the basement. So we have to kind of fight our way through just some average enemies, common MMO terminology. Oh, and I leveled up there too. That's pretty sweet. Common MMO technology or terminology is to call these just like trash mobs. They're there just so you have something to do when you're running from point A to point B. They are not particularly tough, but if you're not careful, they can very easily overwhelm you or, you know, wipe out your entire party. So you still do kind of need to pay attention to things, especially in this game, the way the mechanics work here. Alright, so we're heading down to cryo storage. And then we get a little cutscene here in a moment. It's a really neat system the way like the voting and stuff works, because there's a whole variety of different branches, different things that can happen, different sets of like boss fights, different chunks of the story of this place. It really encourages you to replay this.
Could contain me.
So I'm checking out our party here. We are all completely frozen. So up at the top there, running through us, a Mordash zombie exile like agent broke out all the prisoners, and so now we got to stop as many of them as we can. So that's kind of how this mission is shaken out. These maximum security prisoners are interesting. They're espers, so their whole gimmick of this fight is that they can move, like throw crap around with their brain, sort of like how espers can throw. Like as an esper, I can throw knives and my psychic bird and stuff like that. They're moving actual objects in the area, though. Excuse me. So you'll see like a lot of the red telegraphs. You'll see as they start launching around like chests and crates and things that are just kind of in the area, and those will knock us over and stun us and interrupt our attacks, and very nasty. They also keep coming, so they're kind of on a timer. Every X number of seconds it'll send in another batch, so if we don't keep up and kill them as quickly as possible, we will very, very quickly get overwhelmed here. And that's kind of the big danger of a lot of these raids, is everybody has to do their part. You need to have an effective tank who can, you know, keep all the enemies focused on that one person on the tank, and kind of shield everybody else, keep the rest of them alive, kind of just be a big old meat shield for the rest of the group. You need the healer to keep that person alive, and everybody else too. We have a medic as a healer going on in there. So you can see all the those green telegraphs, the big like area of effect, the cones and the squares and those sorts of shapes. That's our medic. Medics don't have any... I don't believe they have any targeted healing spells. I think they're all big old area of effects like that. Which means that if I want to be healed, I have to run inside the green telegraphs. And that's kind of a thing that you learn very quickly as you play through these raids and dungeons and whatnot.
Double kill. Triple kill. Double kill. Double kill.
As you can see, the combat can get pretty hectic in these sorts of fights. It can be pretty tough to kind of keep straight everything that's going on, make sure that, you know, you're keeping an eye on your own health, you get inside the green circles. As an Esper, I also have a few backup healing abilities that I keep on my action bar down there, purely just for like an emergency. To heal myself or heal anybody else in the group, I can pop out, you know, a big old AoE heal. That was it right there with the yellow orb things that popped out. That was my heal. Though, way more important is just doing a lot of damage as quickly as I can. An Esper, I'm really enjoying the Esper class. Oh, and here I'm taking a look at my skills very quickly. I was considering swapping them out a little bit. And also taking a look at what I might have gotten since I leveled up. I have a single ability point that I could use to pop up. Yeah, so I put it into my spider. I could use to kind of improve one of my skills and make myself a little bit more effective. So I dealt with my leveling up real quick. Alright, so we have another choice here. We have to pick what we're going to do. You can communicate with the group. You can, you know, like, hey, what do we want to do? Let's all vote for the same thing. Why do we want to do this? You know, whatever. Or you can do what we do and just, like, this one sounds like fun, and just kind of pick one. And
Don't just stand there. Do
the only thing about all the different objectives is that they're all in different locations, so if you run through this place multiple times, you can get kind of turned around and not, you know, kind of have maybe a tough time figuring out, like, which way to go and how to get to all the different things. Here, maybe did something a little stupid, got too close to those enemies and pulled them a bit into combat when I probably shouldn't have. That is the Legionnaire Yggdrasil, the YG, Young Guru. That is my friend. We were running this together as a group. He's playing an engineer, which is kind of one of the tankier classes. Heavy armor, can draw a lot of, you know, like, can make themselves appear to be a giant threat and pull a lot of enemies towards them. So we were fine. His moderate amount of tanking abilities, since he's in here, is damage, mostly. And then my moderate amount of healing, since I'm also mostly in here, is damage. We survived that fight just fine. There's also lots of other little things going on in here. So, like, well, I'll try to point one out. You'll see more, actually, later on. But there's, like, these weapon racks, or tool racks, all over the place. Because, you know, it's like it's a prison, also a mining facility. And the weapon racks, some of the rioting prisoners can, like, run over to them and like, grab weapons and things off the racks and then be a lot tougher because now they're equipped. That's, like, what that blue foggy spray is that's coming from one of the other enemies. He picked that up off of the tool rack. You can, it's kind of not like an actual, like, a required objective or anything, but any player can go interact with the rack and clear it off, remove the tools, and that'll stop the enemies from kind of powering up like that. So lots of fun little mechanics, lots of things that you kind of need to learn as you play through this. I can't even imagine what some of the higher end adventures or dungeons or even, oh my gosh, the 10 and 20 man raids. I can't even imagine how those are going to go.
Double kill.
This is a pretty good example of how things can start to get overwhelming if you're not careful.
Double kill. Triple kill.
As I mentioned before, you really got to be careful. Spatial awareness is huge in this game. You really got to know where other enemies are that are not in the fight. Make sure that you don't accidentally pull them into the fight. The wrench-wielding prisoner at the top left corner, just somebody got too close to him and pulled him in, stuff like that. So, good example of how things can start to go wrong if you're not careful. Yeah, we lost one of our DPS members. I think at some point I just decided to, like, try to run away, because these enemies spawn infinitely. They're not going to stop. Yep. There we go. Just running away. And I'm waiting to see if anybody follows me. The nurse bot did follow. I didn't realize at this point that our tank and our other DPS engineer, Grey Balls, I didn't realize that they had also died, so I'm, like, waiting to see, like, okay, are they going to come out? Like, what's going on? And then I'm also, you know, remember that I'm on my headset and I'm talking to my my friend, the Young Guru, at the same time. So he told me, he's like, we died and we respawned. We're ahead of you. Like, we're waiting for you guys to show up. I was like, oh, okay. Very nice, then. And I'm checking the map just to get a quick glance and see where they're at. And they are. They're up ahead here. So this is our second set of objectives. The first one, what did we do? Go down to cryo storage and try to stop them from breaking out the maximum security prisoners. That didn't, like, you know, they succeeded anyway, so we had to fight off a bunch of the maximum security prisoners. Now, a bunch of prisoners got guns, and they're terrorizing the guards. So our goal is to wipe out these little patches of prisoners here and free the guards. So that's what we're doing. We have all these little groups that we got to deal with. And they're just normal kind of trashy enemies. Like, they're not particularly difficult. And we're, you know, there's like meteors and stuff falling. That's what the red circles are that you see. You know, kind of some environmental stuff. But generally speaking, at least this part is not particularly difficult.
Double kill. Double kill.
Yeah, sorry that the commentary is kind of lacking at this point. There's really not much to talk about.
Won't quit.
We're just fighting off a bunch of these enemies. And there's the warden of the prison, kind of the guy who's been giving us advice and telling us what to do and missions and whatnot, saying like, oh, by the way, watch out, there's a whole flood of more prisoners coming in that you're going to have to fight. Just kind of an indication that we hit the halfway point. Like, oh, you hit the halfway point, we're going to make it a little more difficult for you here.
Double kill.
Give you a little more stuff that you got to deal with. We're still wiping through these groups. I think you can see in the bottom right-hand corner the events, all my quests and whatnot. Quell the Riot and Asteroid Void Prison. That's just kind of the generic, like, hey, you're doing this adventure right now. Yard time, 6 out of 9. Saving the overwhelmed guards, now 7 out of 9. That's our actual progress tracker for this particular set of goals. So we're almost done here. And it goes up fairly slowly because you have to wait. Like, after you fight off the prisoners, the guards, I think, like, run away. I keep interacting with those things, trying to figure out what they do. I think they do, like, a shockwave and stun the enemies, but like, the enemies have to be really close to them or something. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know, like I said, I've run this thing several times, still learning new mechanics and things about how this adventure goes. And I've run this one quite a bit. The other side, the Exile side, I've only run a couple times, and I still have no clue what's going on in that one.
Triple kill.
There we go. So we completed that set of objectives, more or less. Finishing off the last couple of enemies, but we get our rewards for completing that objective. And now, I believe it rolls into the agent who let folks out of cryo storage earlier, that Mordesh.
Time to get your
Yeah,
hands dirty.
he's been spotted by the guards, and we need to run over there and stop him before he escapes. So that's our kind of follow-up mission, a little bit of a boss fight going on here. And again, after what happened, and I get completely turned around and take a wrong turn there. After what happened last time, where a bunch of our party got wiped out, we decided, kind of, without speaking, we all just kind of decided at the same time, like, let's just run through this. Stun some enemies, I pull out my spider because he'll distract enemies, and we just kind of take off. And these are the tool racks I was talking about. So I believe if you don't clear these, at least for some of the boss fights in here, I'm not sure about all of them, but it's... Yeah, I stood in that red telegraph like an idiot. Took it on the chin. I believe extra enemies can kind of run in during the boss fight, just extra little grunts, and they'll pick up these tools and become a lot tougher. So that's why I kind of run around dealing with those things. Just to make sure that in the event the enemies do show up, we don't have to deal with them. And Nursebot XL is irritated because all healers have like an extra... for all your healing skills, you have an extra resource, an extra kind of currency for your skills almost, known as focus. And it regenerates really slowly in combat, and all your good healing skills require focus. So if you run out of it, you can't heal anymore. Next time I use a healing spell, I'll point it out, but mine is like the brain logo down at the bottom kind of middle of my screen. You can see my psychic points, which build up from 0 to 5. And as those build up, they make my attack stronger. I don't know how much I've talked about that on my other videos. But like the goo in that brain logo kind of in the background, the green stuff, that's my focus. And you can see, there we go. Now it's down to 98%. Our group started the fight, and the medic apparently had absolutely no focus. They were at like 10% or something. So our medic was not able to heal because she or he had absolutely no focus, and just like they popped off a couple heals early on and then couldn't really do anything. So that's why Yggdrasil, our DPS, died. When I realize what's going on, that's when I kind of start popping off my heals a little bit more. But by this point, the boss is almost done. So I kind of switch back to like, let's just do as much damage as we can and try to end this, because he was really close to death.
That should stop them. For now.
So, all things considered, that went way better than it should have. Way better. Yep, so there's our medic in chat there pointing out, like, hey, I need to recover focus before we do anything else. Which is, it's good, but that's the thing that you absolutely need to communicate. You can't just... I've done healing, both as a medic and other classes in some of these adventures and things before. If you don't tell people that you're low on focus or out of focus, they're not going to stop for you. So here we go. I'm checking my inventory because we got a bunch of loot for fighting that boss. I got a couple of trees and bushes and things for my house in the sky. That'll be shown off at some point in the distant future, when it's actually got cool stuff in there and not just, you know, the random things that I get from these. It can be a bit more choosy. Anyway, so this is our third and final set of objectives, and everybody keeps going the wrong way, including myself. We're on the right track now. So one of the other... There's kind of three main entities on the Exile side at work here. There's like the Orin, the rabbit-ear-tailed furry creatures. There's a professor of one of those race who's the scientist and is like got like all these robots and doing interesting things with the equipment and stuff like that. And she is part of our third mission here. She turned off the meteor shield generators, so that's what all those red circles are now. Meteors are just falling. There's no shield to keep them away from the prison. So we got to fight the enemies, and then we got to disconnect these, or we got to reboot the shields here manually at the control panel. So I go out of my way to hit that other objective, and it's both parts. You have to kill all the people, and you have to reboot the meteor shields, but you're timed. And in a recent patch, they kind of broke the timer, I think, on the quest log. So you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, it just says 2 minutes, 9 seconds. And it's not changing. It updates, I believe, whenever we change the objective. So yeah, like, we killed a couple folks and now it dropped down to 1:44. Not much time, especially considering we kept getting lost. And a tough time to see because it's not accurate, like, it's not updating in real time. So... this was a bit scary. I actually didn't think that we were going to get through this. Actually, still don't even know if we made it through this or not. I mean, luckily they're all fairly close. But, still, it was a bit concerning. like I said, it gets tougher and tougher and tougher as you get through. The first objective, fairly easy. The second one, also not bad. The third one's usually pretty tough. And again, there's a whole bunch of different options that you can pick, kind of depending on what you've done up to that point. At this point, I realized that we only had a couple seconds, like less than 40 seconds, probably down to 10 seconds or so, to get the shield generator and also kill these guys. I ran for the shield generator, didn't get it in time. Yeah, so we didn't get it in time. That's the warden popping in like, oh, nice work. But we haven't finished off the 2 prisoners, and we didn't get that last panel, I don't think. So I was confused at this point. I was sure that we had failed. At least failed that objective. The story keeps going. You still can finish the adventure. It doesn't like kick you out or anything like that. Cool. So now to kind of wrap things up more or less, we got to run back and talk to what's his name, the warden again, and let him know like, hey, here's status report. Here's where we're at. We fought off all the rioting prisoners. Dealt with the shield generators. What else do you need for us? Yeah, and I was concerned because I didn't think that we'd gotten the shield generator, and I saw that meteors were still falling, so... Huh. And one enemy followed us in here, but we didn't worry about it too much.
I can't believe this.
Don't just stand there, do something!
So, that conversation that's going on up top there, between the warden and Professor Goldbow and all that, Professor Goldbow has basically stopped the asteroid and is going to send it crashing into Nexus, the actual planet where we've been doing all this. So we need to sever these kind of cryopod tether things here that they're going to use to escape. That's the first part of our objective. Do that while we're being shot at by robots and all the enemies. Not too bad. And then it rolls into the rest of the boss fight where we have to defeat her and her robots.
Double kill.
Man, that announcer voice who announces when you get double kills, triple kills, and so on, so incredibly satisfying for such a relatively small addition to the game.
When I get off this rock, I'm gonna sit under the shadiest tree I can find.
This sort of fight is really, really tough for Esper, at least the way I've been playing my class so far, because there's so much crap going on, so many red circles, and my main attack is immobile. Like, I have to stand still and charge in order to cast it. So these sorts of fights are just rough because it's tough to be mobile and also still get some attacks in. That's part of the fun of playing the class. That sort of give and take is why I'm having so much fun with it, I think. Yeah, Professor Goldbow here was kind of a pushover. Really not super difficult.
For now.
And here we get all of our rewards.
Simulation complete. I suppose next time I shall have to try harder.
Like I said, the whole thing was just a training simulation, not an actual riot that we were fending off. And so now we get to learn how we did.
Your skills have impressed me. Perhaps I should retune the simulation's difficulty settings.
And usually he says something about how well you did. So not bad, look at that. And we get our stats. So I was number 1 at staying alive, number 2 in damage, which, I mean, there are 3 damage dealers, so I was right in the middle of the pack, not bad. Number 3 in heals, so somebody else was casting more heals than I was, which is interesting. But we got a gold, so we get like a new title, we got a couple of achievements, stuff like that, and then we get a bunch of loot. And I was trying to decide whether I wanted to roll need or greed, whether it was a thing I really cared about. It wasn't. Those gloves were not that good compared to what I had on. And then somebody else got a painting. I checked to see if we got anything else unique from doing that. Yeah, and then that's it. So that was one of the early adventures. This is on the Dominion side, and we will see the other one at some point. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you all next time.